Oh my goodness, JKD concepts versus original JKD. The most controversial subject when it comes to Bruce Lee's martial art. It's been debating over now decades. It's almost like Christianity versus Catholic, right? In the JKD community. So Sifu, let's talk about maybe the original JKD first. What's your thought? What's your perspective?
I would say as a culture, you know, people believe original is based off of what Bruce Lee was teaching at the time. Like in the late 60s, in the 70s era, etc. And obviously he passes away. Concepts is an idea driven from those thoughts and principles from that era, but they look at a more modern era. So they're thinking, okay, so people move differently now. We've evolved into different forms of fighting, right? Or you see the UFC fights. I mean, those people are now, you know, hands up, kicking. So now we place an idea within that type of a fighting aspect of the art.
And it's almost, if you're not familiar with Bruce Lee's martial art, the two school of thought, right? Right. You have the JKD, original JKD, which is, I've studied under Ted Wong, and which is original JKD, that lineage, where that school of thought, they believe actually we should preserve the art exactly how the way that Bruce taught us. This is the way we're teaching you, not one bit more. This is the stance, this is the punch. We're not changing a damn thing, basically. Right. This is it, right? And then they have the JKD concepts, which they're like, no. JKD is not a style, right? It is a set of principles for philosophy that you should find your own path, right? Daniel Santos said, find, you know, we absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is eventually your own. It's that school of thought. Yeah. Which I find that they also then incorporate a lot of different art, like Filipino martial art, Indonesian martial art, Malaysian martial art, karate, different type boxing. Yeah. I've studied under two of, briefly, so I have no authority on this, you know, no way, like I'm not representing the art, I'm just saying, from my understanding, I've studied under two of Daniel Santos' students. So from my understanding, I could quickly demonstrate Sifu, then you can also bring some attention to it. I'll invite Shin come in and just do a quick demonstration. So the way that I see it is that for the art that from JKD concepts, one big philosophy is they like to flow from art to art. They believe you should be well trained in different types of martial art, so have more weapons and more tools that you could use. Example would be, instead of original JKD, so let's say stands here, they could go from let's say a cake, we have different cakes, but let's say they take a savate cake, right? From here, they could flow from a Wing Chun, and then they could flow from boxing, and then they could go from, right? Thai boxing, and then they can go from a sweep, and then they could go from a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So it's flow from art to art to art. Now this is just my understanding, my own interpretation. The way that I see it is much more, imagine you have an apple, you have an orange, you have a banana, and they put a stick through it. There are different types of martial art, depends on the scenario. I will put an apple, I'll put an orange, I will put a banana, depends on that. To me, Sifu, if you can come back right in, is for the original JKD, or what I think JKD is much more like a blender. That you put the apple in, you put the orange in, you put the banana in, and you blend it. So when it was finished, the end product, it's not a banana, it's not an apple, it is a different type of drink, like a smoothie. I don't know, what do you think? That's my take.
Well, I no way represent original Jeet Kune. Yeah. I find my representation of it is a clarity and understanding of how to use principles. And those principles is how I apply whatever type of form he uses against me and try to attack his base and still hit with power, precision, and utilizing what people call the 5 ways of attack. Now, you completely throw out the entire feel and look of what Jeet Kune is supposed to look like, because you're thinking about principles now. And that's the difference between me and original people or concepts. And I don't even look at that. And again, going back to the concepts group or the original, if they feel that it's the right way for them, then more power to them. If they're leading towards a direction that makes them feel good about what they do, then do it.
Yeah.
There's no problem.
And I think we get into martial art because most of us, we want to defend ourselves, we want to build self-confidence, we want to improve our health. I mean, I've never seen like in all across the board, different sports, different industry, especially even on social media.
Right.
I've never seen more ego in martial art than any other things, right? It's always this debate, it's, hey, you suck, you're wrong, you are doing it wrong, I'm the best, or I'm gonna kick your ass and I'm gonna challenge you. It's always these type of big ego. Really, right? We're doing it because I think we are fans of Bruce Lee. We resonate towards his philosophy, right? It's if you know Bruce is about spreading the message, positive message, right? Making a difference. Not like I hate you, you hate me, but somehow all the students they all hate each other and they fight and you suck and I'm the best. I mean that to me it's already against what JKD is about, right?
Do we see all those people's opinions now?
Yeah, like it's right there, right? Probably this video would get a bunch of hate comment, oh you suck and I don't like this and I don't like. We know that. We are just sharing what our interpretation, our perspectives, right, Sifu?
Yeah.
So it's just, you're talking about philosophies and principles, not so much technique. Because I do see people like, oh, that's not the way that Bruce moved, right? Bruce moved this way, so I should do that. Well, but we're not Bruce. You're not Bruce. We're not Bruce. Okay. So we cannot do some of those moves. Yeah. Or we just that's not our strength, right?
Yeah, right. And so I think what you were trying to share was the difference, and there is a similar difference. Yes. So if he were to throw a punch, that I'm not going to sit there and block it because we're thinking about hitting, right? So if I'm hitting, that would be my first action to take. Or if he's stepping towards me, I'm going to immediately kick to the groin. I mean, it almost looks similar to the other version of let's do what it takes, going from art to art. I don't look at it that way. It's looking at it, what's my direct path to the target? Or how do I get him to move in a position where I can hit him and he can't hit me? That's a major difference.
Yeah, and then the principle, let's say the longest weapons against nearest target, right? We take all the vital targets. Yep. We sharpen our tools. Yep. We keep it simple. Right. For myself, when I learned and I actually want to hear Sifu's opinion as well. When I learned the different types of art, I find that in sparring or different even training situation, it's like I have so many files, actually makes me less effective. That's just my point of view, right? That, oh, I have 20 moves I can do against this one strike. I find that personally it doesn't work for me. I went through that period of time, like when you don't know anything and then you know too much, and now it's all about really it's daily decrease. Yeah. I would rather you have 20 things, I've got one thing. Right? You're gonna do this, I'm gonna hit this, I'm gonna finger jab. You're gonna do this, I'm gonna finger jab, right? Yeah. Right now I finger jab. That's just me, right?
No, I totally agree.
I find it's much simpler, right?
And one of the videos that we were doing, I was like, let's just hit to the groin, let's hit to the groin. You saw me, I'm just gonna be doing the same kick over and over. Yeah. And that's my initial target. I'm not gonna worry about, if you can take a hit. Yeah. I'm gonna be worried about if you can take a hit against your butts. Yeah. Or on the balls.
If he can take a hit in the groin, then we run. Yeah, that's a monster. Yeah. It's a different animal, right? Yeah, right. But JKD concepts, one thing I do like, which is they talk a lot about weapons. Sure. Which original JKD, there's no weapon involved at all. They don't even talk about, right? So I think in modern day, that's something to consider because people do have weapons and how to do against that.
You can borrow some of that stuff and put it into the weapon realm, and either enhance the weaponry training through some principles out of the Jeet Kune art. Correct. But I don't teach the weapons. I just make sure that people feel good about themselves, knowing how to sharpen their tools, punching, kicking, whatever the case is. If you want to learn a weapon art, that's another thing.
So comment below, original JKD versus JKD concepts. Which school you're from, what are your thoughts? I think that's a very good topic to discuss. Again, no hate, don't say like shit like I hate you, you hate, all that. It's not about that. It's about improving ourselves as a community. We want to preserve, right? Yep. Preserve Bruce's legacy, and that's why we make these videos, That's what we do, right? So comment below. And if you want to watch other videos that Steve Octavio, what we created, make sure Go watch those videos. We got a long playlist. We've got a lot of videos, and we upload video every single week. Until next time, be water, my friend.